Welcome, everybody, to Layered Insights. I'm Alex,
I'm Matt.
and this is the 3D printing podcast. But we're going to talk about something like way bigger than just 3D printing. The world is in chaos more and more every day, probably more since when we've recorded this episode, if I had to wager. So there's uncertainty, there's the advent of AI, there's economic things, there's so like how do you plan your future when there's like so much chaos? And I think one thing that we've both been thinking about, and probably some of you have been thinking about, is how do I plan for the future? How with everything that is happening that's out of my control, what's something I can do? And we're thinking about skill sets. And so thinking whether you're looking for a new career, you've got a young person who's looking for what kind of skills they should learn. Like, what is one skill you could learn that would have value, but also be good throughout the future? And for us, it's design. And specifically, I think in our case, it's CAD design.
3D
And
design.
3D design, exactly. So that's what we wanted to spend this episode on, was talking about the power of that, about a certain skill set that can just apply to so many different things. Obviously, within the niche of 3D printing, we've got
You
plenty we can share about that.
Other industries too,
100%.
different ways you can make money with it,
Mm-hmm.
different tools, uh, how I the the market for 3D models is just going to be maybe exploding
Yeah.
in the future. There'll be more demand for it.
Yeah, and I think if the world that both of us, I think, are building for, which is, this world of 3D printing becomes as commonplace as like your printer in your house or your cell phone, those 3D models are going to become even more and more important. But I guess where to start? Why do you think design is so important and powerful?
I wouldn't say just design, but
Yeah.
good design, right?
Good. There we
I'll add
go.
good in there.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
because I think you can go and find is like even right now you can go into Thingiverse or some of these other places that host a lot of 3D models, and you'll find a lot
Oh,
of not good design too. So it's
the
like
number of pages filled with not good models is
yeah,
not good free models
not good
is
for you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's yeah, I'm gonna put good in there.
Smart.
Um, I think the we live in a 3D world. I think 3D assets are becoming more and more of a thing now that we can you can print them at home, you can print them on on-demand services, um, stuff like that. And then, video games
Hmm.
or VR or anything in media that, even videos, anything in media that we're using uses a lot of 3D digital assets. And it's just going to keep expanding more
Yep.
and more,
Yep.
especially with the adoption of these technologies. And people want more of these assets, either free or paid, that they can go online and find and download, and
Mm,
you know, whether they're just for aesthetic purposes or if they're functional designs too. So I know,
yeah.
like, I think a lot of times we're we're always looking for stuff to print, even if maybe we don't need it or just to print stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, what can I need? And then you search for something specific, and sometimes it doesn't exist. So if we feel the need for it, we'll go and design it ourselves.
Hmm.
Then there's also, I feel like, we're mostly in the CAD design realm,
Hmm.
but
And
then there's a
that's like you've got a plane. I'm gonna draw a sketch on that plane, and then I can extrude stuff out of that sketch, and you can do a lot in that. It's a very mechanical engineering.
very systematic. You
Yeah.
can go back and make changes easily. It's very, I don't want to say blocky, but it's not
Yeah.
not organic,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And then it's right, so that's what we're good at. But then there's this whole other, well, there's several other 3D modeling techniques that we're not good at. And it's
Hmm.
like, so even though we're in the 3D model world, we're like, we can't even touch this
Yeah.
whole other side of it because we just
Yeah,
don't
we're
have
like the
those skills.
Ravenclaws of like the Hogwarts of like the wizarding world
The
of
3D
3D
printed
modeling. Yeah.
spoons. That's true. Because then the Blender and stuff would be like Hufflepuff or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then there's yeah, so like, I
There's like the
can
mechanical design route, which is that route.
yeah.
And then you're saying Blender. How is Blender more like?
Yeah, Blender is almost more like people probably correct me. I'm gonna say sculpting or artsy. You
Yeah.
can still, oh, it's more asset based. I'm gonna put it that way.
Mm.
So like, you bring in a square and then you modify it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's not as much. I'd say CAD
Yeah.
is more extrusion based
Mm.
and Blender's more modifying based.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's the
And
best
just like a
way to word
sculptor,
it.
like you're taking a form and then making something into it.
Hmm.
Yeah, where with the CAD stuff or the SolidWorks side, the Onshape side, it's like you're almost adding, but in a very 2D way.
You're adding in stages, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like those parts we can design ourselves, but then it's like every once in a while I want something that it's more organic looking or
Right, right.
more aesthetic, and it's something and it's like, I don't really have the skills or knowledge to be able to do this quickly and easily like I do in
Hmm.
CAD. So then it's like, we almost have to reach out to other people or try to find stuff online or learn it ourselves, which for
Yep.
some of these programs can be time consuming or a little difficult.
It's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, no, there's a bunch of different like approaches. I remember when I first got into the industry, I was an application engineer, which sounds like a software job, but it's not a software job. It's more about like we've got this specific part to work in this specific situation for this specific industry to do something for them or to solve a problem or to save money because the way you're making it is too expensive. But in order to do that, especially this is like 2018 when I started, 2019. So back then no one software did everything you needed. And it's still the case today. But
Oh yeah.
like when you get into the 3D printing field and like this design solving a problem thing or creating something, you're gonna need to learn like five different softwares, like at a bare minimum. And some of them are the same. I think even within like the ones that we're good at, you go back and
Right.
forth between them and like some key is like opposite from another or there's another key to rotate. And so you're kind of your brain is always going like, "Wait, what's this like setup and how do I turn this?" And
Oh yeah,
uh,
I mean,
it's crazy.
where I went to school, they started us on Pro E,
Oh wow, yeah.
Creo, which is completely different. I don't like that one because that one's
Yeah.
very like, okay, you're in a sketch. This is a sketch.
Right, right.
And then you have to get out of the sketch. While like the next year after that, they taught us SolidWorks, and the SolidWorks just felt so much more straightforward. I like the
Yeah.
flow and the workflow better.
Hmm.
On shape similar,
Yep.
but then like I think like you said, right? There's even AutoCAD's a little different too, but
Hmm.
even within the CAD space, there's different versions. Like
And they all do something a little bit different, especially when you're working with STLs, which
yeah.
is the 3D printing
Well,
file, if you guys
HDL is
don't know.
completely different because that's a mesh as opposed to
Yeah.
a step file or a SolidWorks file, whatever
Hmm.
dot numbers and letters that it is.
Yeah. It's
But
weird. Like when you think about it, it's like this next evolution of design from a different age, right? Like the whole reason like Pro E and like SolidWorks is even built the way that it's built is because these were drafters back in the day.
mhm,
Entire warehouses of people just filled with those drawing desks and they would be designing something on paper to give to a mechanic or a tool maker or a machinist to make that thing and it had everything they needed to reach the tolerance of the part and all that stuff. So the ones
yep,
we learned are from that world, right?
mostly
Like
subtractive
yep, mostly
manufacturing.
subtractive and the blender and the sculptress and I don't even know if that exists anymore. But like
Yeah, something like that.
those ones are more like literally sculpting, like clay sculptor, pots,
Yeah,
so
mesh
many different
mixer,
things.
mesh lab.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's the other one we just previously mentioned? Rhino.
Rhino. Yep.
It's a lot
Yep. These are
more.
grasshopper. Oh no, that's a whole other aspect. Um,
Grasshopper's part of Rhino.
Oh, is it part of Rhino? But that's
I
like its
believe so.
own version because
Kind of.
you've got like the CAD, then you've got the drafting, you've got the
Well,
sculpting.
even within the CAD, there's
Yes.
also like I think it's OpenSCAD where it's like the drafting, but it's all programming
Mm,
languages. So you program what you want to happen, and then you press execute, and it builds out your model.
yeah.
I think the how you think about that in the workflow is more similar to CAD. So I
Mm.
put that into the regular CAD.
But it's a
Um,
totally different thing. And like that's I think that's why when you're in this world, you kind of have to pick one unless there's like an advantage to knowing both at the same time because there's
There is
just so much to
advantages, yeah.
learn. It's
Because if
crazy.
like if I ended up using one my last job because I wanted to make a large array of just planes, just like
Mm,
thin planes. I'm like, this would well, it would maybe take a little bit in SolidWorks. It could be done, and also might just completely slow down the program 'cause sometimes it doesn't like handling that stuff. But you can seriously do it in probably like 5 lines or less
mm,
in the programming language because you're saying, hey, make this,
right.
then make so many duplicates, separating this much apart. So it's like super simple. It's easy to go back and edit if I need to change something.
Hmm.
Yeah, then there's like for me from engineering, I describe the other ones as more artsy almost.
It's all a way to get to something at like you're trying to get to a part. You're trying to get to a model in this case. So it's like there's no wrong answer to like which design program you want to do. I mean, for me it's like how fast can I move? So I've done some things in the planar version that I probably could have done in like Blender, but I'm just faster in the version that I'm in. So it's like you make these decisions. Like I've been programming in that style. Not programming. I've been designing in that style since 2009. I think that was my sophomore year of college when I got like a SolidWorks license from the school.
Hmm.
And so I was designing in there, building assemblies. I hadn't figured out 3D printing at that point. Yeah, from there, then I moved into the manufacturing field, and injection molding, and I learned from some great. I worked with a guy who John, who worked at the community college. He was teaching design stuff. So I learned so much from him of just like the right way to go about setting up your design. And the thing that I hold with me to this day that he told me, and the other aerospace guy I worked with, Troy, especially when you're making something, right? Like sculpting and stuff like that, or like if you're just making like a 3D asset, something that's going to be on a computer, it's just digital, and you're not looking to bring it into reality, into the physical world, then you can have a ball. You can go crazy, design some nuts stuff
It can be
online.
whatever you
But
want it to
right, but if you want to make it,
be.
there's a whole art to designing something so that it can be made. And one of the biggest mistakes that college students and people that learn these things right off the bat, they'll do simple things like the tolerance on a dimension. They'll do like a 4 decimal point tolerance, and like being in a manufacturing environment was such a great teaching moment because it was like, look at this. This is like 10 thousandths of an inch. Like that this person wants to do that. You know how much money that's going to cost for us to actually get it to that tolerance?
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't do that. And the person that gets that order is going to laugh at that person
Or
because they're
then
like they don't
charge
know
you
what
a
they're
lot.
doing. Yeah, yeah, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg and you're going to get angry that I'm I'm charging you this. But that's what you called out. But the lesson was if you can't design it to be made at a good cost, then you're just, his point was you're just an artist, which is not a bad thing. But in the
It's just a
engineering world,
different manufacturing style.
yeah, it's like if you're gonna make it, like, and then that's where you get into like design for every method of making, right? Design
Mhm.
for injection molding, design for machining, design for 3D printing. Boy, you learn a lot when you're in the fire of that back and forth of trying to figure out like how do we make this for you? Where did you get this model? Was
Can
it
we edit
designed
it?
for a different process, or
Yeah.
why would you even do this? Like the funniest one is like a circle, like a cylinder or like a cube, and it's like why don't you just put that like on a machine? Like that shape is made for a lathe. That shape is made for a mill. Like like why are you
That's
coming
that's
just
why I think it's
20
always good to
times the
know.
cost?
It's always good to know how they were planning on manufacturing it. You'd be
Mm,
like, okay, that's why you have this feature. That's why you have this feature. Because sometimes
right.
they'll just have features, and it's like, okay, you want a 3D print this? Why is this feature on there? Unless you
Hmm.
were, using a completely different method to
Totally.
manufacture it. I think to go back a little bit to the, designing from machining, not only about, the tolerances and all that stuff, about actually making it manufacturable, but I think also learning how to design in your workflow and how to structure
Mm.
building out the part so that when when the machinists come back to you and write mark up your
Yes.
engineering drawing and be like, no, this can't be held to this tolerance. You need a fillet here, you need this here, you need that here, right? And even in assemblies, it even gets more complicated in assemblies.
Yeah.
But making sure you're building out the part and the assembly so that when you do need to, or maybe it's not even the machine is coming back to you and saying this is wrong, right? It's just you need an update in the future, right? Being able to go back into SolidWorks, and this is why you use
Hmm.
SolidWorks or CAD programs for engineering stuff, because a lot of more Blender and those other pro sculpting type modifying programs, you can't easily go back and change a
Right.
measurement, automatically update and, not completely break
Mm.
the rest of your model. So it's like knowing the workflow so that when you do change measurements or you need to add this or that, that it can be done easily. It doesn't
Hmm.
mess up the pre-existing model. You can always go back easily. It doesn't completely change the shape. So like
Yeah.
if you want to do this in a Blender type program, there's no real, what do you call it? Like the tree of actions you did,
Mm.
right, to build out the
Yes.
part.
Right.
That doesn't really usually exist in
I don't think so. Yeah, I think
Blender,
there's maybe like a temporary memory, like you could like maybe like
maybe.
undo like a
Yeah.
full click of like a
But
thing,
it's
but you're
not
right. There's
like you
no
can go
list
in and
like
change, you can't
yeah.
go in and change like one
I don't think so.
part of it easily without completely possibly messing up the rest, unless you're doing some of the node stuff.
Yeah.
But that's a complete other realm of the artsy modeling stuff.
Yeah, RC
Uh,
like geometry
yeah,
math.
some of the
Yeah.
crazy geometry stuff people can do.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, I think the CAD has its place for the right certain models. Like if you're gonna manufacture the part, definitely CAD. If you're man, but then I think it gets grayer because if you're using 3D printing, you're using like
Right. Then you could
right,
get away with printing organic shapes. Right. Exactly.
yeah, or injection molding too.
Or injection molding.
You still
Yep.
have to think about the process and make sure you can get it out of the mold or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you could use more of those other programs for that.
Hmm. There's almost like a story about life with the approach that you take for a project. Like I I have taken the approach sometimes going down on like, you know, how I'm going to design this model. Then a few hours into the design, realizing I've made a huge mistake and that the thing I wanted to get to, the way I did it, the program just like can't handle it, or
Yeah.
there's some underlying relationship between like extruding or revolving or something I'm trying to do that what I've done is breaking the program. So you're like, okay, like I that's part of the process sometimes is like you need to just get started to realize, oh crap, I should have done it this way. That's just life, right? Like that's going through and you've got this plan, you go after it, and then something happens. And you're like, oh, okay, I need to start over. And you get better at that. And like my skills in designing for that long have come like such a crazy way. Like I'm almost at 20 years of designing in CAD, and like I'm pretty well known for just like, hey, I've got this idea, can you make this for me? I'll whip something up in like 20, 30 minutes, and it's
Yeah.
something you can run off of, But that's from many, many, many hours in design of like going one place and realizing, nope, that's not gonna
And
work.
also knowing how it's gonna come out when you 3D print it too.
Yeah.
So it's like, being able to quickly go from that idea, model it, getting a really good like first prototype, you
Hmm.
know?
That's the fix for me. I love that process. I mean, like I've got a few that I'm juggling right now that, you know, when you own your printer and you've already bought the material and it's, like PLA, printing out a design in the middle of your design process just to hold it in your hands and to look at it, that's a different technique of design that like this is where you get like different factions in designing where like if you're like a classic mechanical engineer who's in that world, you never would do that because that would be admitting that your design is wrong. But for me, the data is in what did I get wrong? What
Mhm.
did I not see? Where was my blinder? What did the printer printing it layer by layer in actual reality show me that in the perfectness of the design digitally, I didn't catch?
Yeah, yeah. No, that
Yeah.
happens to me all the time. And it's
Oh
like
man, it's never ending.
That's the problem too. It feels like you can just keep redesigning it and printing it till
Hmm.
forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's I really love that it's like 10 o'clock in the morning you have an idea, and
Yeah.
at 3 you could have it in your hand, right?
Yeah. It's
That's just
wild.
beautiful.
It is that, and that's the true power of it, right? I think for both of us, I think that's the thing that's got us to where we are is that it's chasing that. The interesting learning experience, and I want to know what you think about this. But when I started doing it for other people, when I started designing for other people, there there's just a different energy about that creative process with somebody
Hmm.
that if I was coming at it just as a pure engineer, I'm
You
thinking of a
can't.
few people that I know that like are great, intelligent,
Yes.
amazing engineers. But as soon as you do something that's not by the book, that's not by the process, it's like pulling teeth with them. And I'm a lot more patient in that area. And I like the chaos of creating with people, but it was an experience, like learning that, like realizing that I would make decisions if it was my project that I would go down, I would spend 4 or 5 hours. And if I don't check in with that customer to make sure that that's what they want, then
Yeah.
I've just burned 4 to 5 hours, not because the customer is wrong, but because I didn't go and communicate that. And that's design. Like that's I think that's more of the art than necessarily like the engineering of it. That's what it
Yeah.
comes with, you know?
I think I sometimes I put it in multiple categories. There's like the engineering side of it
Hmm.
where, it works, it functions, it does what it's supposed to do. Right. But then there's like this other side where I call it more of like the industrial design,
Mm,
which when I went to college, I was wanting to design things and make things. I'm like a mechanical engineer. I didn't even know there was a career that was just like product designing, which is
mm,
industrial designing, right?
yeah.
So then, like when I'm doing stuff for my clients, I try to put on both hats. So I'm thinking
Mm,
mechanically, and then okay, how how's the whoever they're selling it to, how are they going to interact with the product? How does it look?
yeah.
Is it going to be ergonomic?
Mm,
All these other details that add to the quality of using the product or looking at the product and
mm,
stuff. So, which I think a lot of mechanical engineers don't necessarily think about or think about how the user might use the product or what mistakes they might use when they use the product. Make sure
yep.
they're using it, try to give enough hints in the design that shows the customer how to use it right. And like,
Mm,
there's so many subtleties
mm,
in that type of designing that I think, the customer might not ask for, they might not think to ask for.
mm,
So I think a lot of the time I'm thinking about all these other things to add more quality and add better design aspects and make sure the customer, like all these other little intricate little things that
mhm,
really add to the product. And even though the customer might not have thought they needed or knew what to have, it's
mm,
like adding it in there and be like, what do you think? And they'll be like, oh yeah, like you thought of this, you thought of that. And it's like,
mm,
you end up covering a lot of stuff and a lot of prototypes,
yeah.
even though you're going, you're working a little bit past what the customer wants or is asking for.
Hmm.
So I will do that a lot of times just because I think I usually try to, try and provide the best product possible
Yeah.
while and also, hit all the check boxes of the customer.
Hmm.
So I try to bring them into the design process as much as possible too.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, okay, I think your users I might use it like this, so let's add this, let's add that.
Yeah.
Try and make it, don't just take their check boxes and then go and do a design and just like, yeah, here it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like this is how these things are designed. Like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
in what we're trying to do isn't
yeah.
really, that's a very classic engineering thing to do. Like, oh, we use T-slot rails because that's what we use. And it's like maybe I can't afford the T-slot rail, you know?
Think about the price,
Um,
think about the application. There's a lot to think about when it
hmm.
goes into design rather than just
Yeah.
numbers on paper or check boxes that has to fit here and fit there.
Hmm. Yeah, and I liked the multiple hats example that you brought up because I found early in my career in the injection molding side of things, I was doing a lot of this, design and helping people, I learned that hat thing of like, okay, this is the time for me to have fresh eyes, to come in
Yes.
there and just observe and when something pops out at me to mention it and that's a different mindset than I'm trying to get this project done or I'm trying to help you make a decision. Like those are all like different things that you've got to balance and you there's a different thing with every customer, a different
Yep.
set of expectations, a different way that they like to work. And so we're doing almost like Sherpa-ing like up a mountain of getting your part done. It's like, no, don't go that way. That's not a fun way to go. We can go that way if you want, but I've been
I've
there.
like
Let's not go that way.
sometimes you design to get to look or function how they want, but then like okay, I got it generally how they want it, but now it's like usually you try to do this in the process too, which I
Mm,
do, right? Make sure you're built when you're design in the process to design, make sure it's manufacturable.
yeah.
But sometimes you just gotta get to the point where you get the thing that the customer wants, and then you have to tweak it and redesign it a little bit for manufacturability.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Mhm.
okay, first get on the hat to get to how the customer wants it to look and how it's going to function or whatever, and then it's like, okay, then put on your manufacturing hat. Okay, what do I have to tweak on this to be able to manufacture it? Do I have
Yeah.
to split it in parts? Do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? Right? So then I think you cycle through all the hats
Yep.
in one job or one product or something.
Sure. Yeah, and I've definitely noticed that uh sometimes people are just looking for structure because it's so new to them that they don't even know what question to ask yet. So
Hmm.
sometimes it's about like feeling the room and being like, "Hey, we're at this point, for me, these are kind of like my next steps. Do you feel good about that? Do you want to move on? We don't have to. Like it's up to you, but this is kind of where I see it going." And sometimes even just that helps a ton for people. And so for us, like we learned this from making our own parts on 3D printers. We learned like these skills of design. I don't think either of us thought of it as it being that powerful. I think we were both lucky enough that we we happened to be in engineering when they're
Yeah.
teaching CAD, and we just thought it was cool enough that we kept doing it. Um,
Well, I think
and
I think now we're looking at these other people that, are doing Blender or Rhino and doing it's like, we're in the functional parts type of
mm,
thing. But then we're looking at these other things, the complexity of stuff that they're doing. It's like I can't even fathom how to
yeah,
do that or learn how to do that. It's like, you're kind of jealous that's like, I want to be able to make some like design some of these prints that are just crazy like that, but I just don't
mhm,
have the skills.
yeah. I know I've tried to jump into it more for like cosplay stuff. And there's like Kamui Cosplay does a lot where they show how they design stuff just from pictures. They'll take like
Yep.
multiple angles and they'll have like the main axis of the part and then they'll put a side
Mhm.
view, a front view, and then they're
They
basically
kind of
just like
sketch out the design and then it
and
slowly
sketching it.
molds
I
into a
still
3D
can't like
thing.
comprehend like how
It's
just
not
doing that
easy.
works, but it
Uh,
does work. And if you're methodical about it, or you're skilled enough that you can always, pull yourself back into it and having a
yep.
chance. Yeah, I'm always in awe of like what people are able to do, and there is a level of that that's so hard. It's virtually impossible for me to do with the version of designing that I do. Vice versa, right? Like a functional part is really hard to do in Blender.
Oh yeah.
It's just it's not how that thing is built.
It's a completely different workflow and mindset to designing
Yes.
that stuff that we're like not used to.
Yeah, 100%.
Because even like, I like playing around with the flexible materials
Mm-hmm.
and like shoes, like thinking about,
Yeah.
shoes could just be 3D printed and it fits your foot because your foot's either taking pictures or 3D scanned. But you look at some of the shoes that people are out there designing for 3D printing and they're using, these node things and
Mm,
these crazy lattice structures and they're using, printing with custom G code to do specific infill. So you have,
yeah.
the outer sole, the midsole, and everything like that. And they're doing all that within, either Blender or Rhino and it's all contained within it. It's like I don't even know where to start to be able to make any of that stuff.
Yeah.
You wouldn't make a shoe. You wouldn't make an interesting shoe in in SolidWorks or
Yeah.
something, right? So it's like yeah, it's that's out of my reach. I'd like to be able to somehow learn a little bit.
Hmm.
But even just like the different free programs that are out there to get started is uh good. I mean, Onshape is good.
Hmm.
SolidWorks, I think you have to pay for a maker's license right now.
Hmm. Yeah,
There's several other free ones.
I use Shaper 3D
Shaper
because
3D,
it
yeah.
helps me design anywhere. And what I mean by that is that like I've got it on my Mac, but I've also
Yeah.
got it on my MacBook and I've also got it on my iPad and I can use the Apple Pencil. And that's one of my favorite ways to do it. But
Oh
I've
yeah, it's
also
nice to be
been
able to use the
designing with
pencil.
a mouse and keyboard for
Yeah.
almost 20 years. So that it depends on like what mood I'm in or where I am. And like that is so freaking cool. And like in this world now where we've got like AI and we've got like all these other things and some people are worried like is my job still going to be here with all this AI? And we've talked about this beforehand, but I
Yeah.
don't from what we've seen from the AI tools that are out there, it does not seem like at least our version of design is just gonna like disappear. And if anything, like
Yeah.
as AI matures, I mean, it's already not doing so well. And there's some like AI programs that like started off really good and they were doing good design parts, and now those same parts aren't designing as well. And that's probably because there's some not good designs that it's training on. But like that's not going to go away. And so people like us who have tinkered with our version of design with that skill set, we can help like fill the gaps of like what AI is not doing, or
Yeah.
if it gets it like 85% there, which is where I think the AI design is going to be for a while, where like it can do something almost as good as you could do, and maybe it'll save you some time, but like, do you then have the skill set to go in there and adapt that
I
model
think
successfully and then still be able to print that model without issues?
even using the AI correctly, like
Yeah.
prompting it correctly and giving it correct instructions on how to build it out,
Hmm.
you need to have the experience of actually building it out yourself through the CAD programs to be able to say, no,
Right.
that's not correct. I need this extrusion or this face or using the certain terms,
Hmm.
right, to be able to say I need this changed this way. Even I think even in the sculpting and more organic shape, it's messing up. I mean, gets pretty damn close, but it's not going to be exactly what you want.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go with sculpt it and edit it and modify it yourself to get what you want.
Hmm.
Um, so I think even just from being an AI user and be able to command it properly, and then yeah, I think it's still far out there for functional stuff, but
Yeah.
maybe one of these CAD programs will have AI built in and it'll be make it easier for users to say, hey, I want this. And you know, there's a difference too, right?
Hmm.
A lot of these CAD programs, right? A lot of these AI programs right now are like, give me a prompt, I'll give you a model. Right. So that's like one prompt, here's the model, and then you might modify it versus using AI to give it step by step by step by step to build out the model. There's
Right.
not too many of those right now.
Mm.
So, and that would need a lot more it's still a lot of work. You're not taking
Yeah.
away the work, but it might just be easier if you don't completely know how to use the CAD software.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole AI argument, not to we'll do a whole other episode on AI for sure. But I think my and probably your hope too is that there isn't going to be someone that's just going to train themselves into an AI. Like that's the person with those skills uh is not going to just do that for a corporation. I don't think they would get paid well enough to do that. So I think it's going to be a long time before we get replaced with
Yeah,
it. And in that time, I mean, at least if you're on top of it, like you'll find the areas that it doesn't work. Like the biggest value I've seen with some of the AI model generation stuff has been the combination of generate an object but also wrap it with color.
Mm.
And that like that aspect is not something that I can just do, and I think that's where these first tools will get trained is like where is the stuff that we can't do? Like that seems like a value add. Like if it was just a program that could replicate your your skill set, I don't know if that's going to be as valuable. Because to your
Yeah,
point, like how are the people going to know how to actually communicate with that thing to make it do what it needs to do?
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, the to compare it to coding right now, right? The people that are using ChatGPT to code know how to code.
right.
They're using it as a supplement. 'Cause,
Yeah,
like I've used ChatGPT. You need to know how the AI where it's going to mess up,
yeah.
how it's going to mess up, and you'll be able to need to be able to identify it.
Yep.
So I've
It's a
used
great
it.
comparison.
I've
Yeah.
used it to write Python scripts, write G code,
Mm,
and you look at it and it's like, no, it's not. Not only is it doing the wrong thing, but it's writing it incorrectly.
yeah.
So you need to be able to pick
Yeah.
up on that.
I that's how I feel about AI right now. I think it from like the marketing message of it, it's gonna do things for you where I am using it more as like I want you to show me something fast so that way I can make a decision on whether I like that or not
Yeah, it's
quicker.
almost. I like using it for inspiration.
Hmm.
Maybe come up with new ideas that I didn't think of. Right?
Yeah.
Idea
I'm using it for like
generation.
my lack of writing ability.
Yeah.
Structured writing and just like keeping
Uh,
my focus to actually put down what's really in my head on
yeah.
paper.
Me too. I'm
Uh,
using it for anything writing.
oh my God. And like and that's I guess that's the danger with something like danger. That's probably the one way that if there becomes a point where there just are no designers anymore, then maybe the AI will take over all of that stuff because it's like, well, then there's no one else to do it. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're only at the bare beginnings of all this like AI and stuff. And so if you're worried about that, if you're worried about AI and you're worried about jobs and stuff like that, at least from what we've seen from the AI today, if you even have like an interest in design, it would be a really good skill to learn because this movement of manufacturing does not seem like it's going to go away.
No.
And as more tools like 3D printers come out, you're going to have like that ability is going to become more and more valuable as things move forward here. People always need to make stuff, and there's a bunch of different ways to make things to make stuff. So,
Yeah, I would
um,
say don't, don't try to get stuck in one lane like we have.
mm,
I'd say diversify
yeah,
maybe two or three somewhat early, so all
mm,
your thinking processes aren't just for one type of
right.
3D modeling.
Yeah, and there's YouTube. I mean, like, I think when we both started learning this stuff, it wasn't like there was a ton of stuff out there. It was you kind of were just like playing with it and be like, what can I do with this? There
Yeah,
were
I was
books, but
using
they were
Google SketchUp at the time because it was
yeah,
free.
yeah, yeah. I had A123.
Oh yeah,
No, I had 123 CAD,
1, 2, 3 CAD.
um,
Yeah,
which I still have, but it doesn't exist anymore. It was a nice little program. I think that's a powerful skill to learn moving forward here because this doesn't seem like it's going to be going away.
the
And I
need
know
for
there's a lot
3D
of people
models.
reconsidering like
Yeah.
what skills do I have? And if it's not going to be, I think hands-on skills is another thing with AI that is going to be really hard for AI to take over completely. Because again, who's going to be the trainer on that AI to actually replace themselves? They're
Hmm.
not. There's going to be skills and it's going to learn, but I feel like in a factory, like taking something and moving it and putting it somewhere else in a dangerous environment, that seems where a lot of these humanoid robots are going to go. And they'll probably get really good at that.
Yeah.
Um, but does it mean that every other aspect of that is going to be taken away? No, no, because there's going to be someone that's working on that humanoid robot. There's going to be someone who, even if the robot does everything it's supposed to, there's still going to be issues. And design it could easily be one of those tools that helps people succeed.
I mean, I think even just being able to design like whatever job you have, right?
Hmm.
Whether you're working in the factory or working in an office or something,
Hmm.
there's always like something like there could be some physical object that could be like, this could make my job more efficient. This could
Mm,
make my life better. It's
yeah.
almost like coding too, right? Just you know, having learned coding young, I was able when I worked at other jobs and like, oh, I can just use coding and make this more efficient for myself and take up less time.
Yeah.
So it's like the same thing. It's like, oh, I could quickly design this one thing and 3D print it, and it will make this task,
Mm,
this hands-on task, this other thing, or organizing or managing this so much better. So it's like if you have the skill, you come up with things to be able to utilize it and make more things efficient at in your job, even
yeah.
even if it's outside of engineering.
Yeah. I think to tie this all up in a bow, I think you kind of touched on what might be our advice to people. It's like if you do want to learn a skill like design, I would say just pick a project and start simple. You don't have to go something crazy. Like I made the other day like a spice rack for
Yeah,
myself. It's the most simplest thing I might have designed ever, but like that helped me a ton in my day. There's this little old table that I have with little claw foot. And I have the little Roomba thing that drives around, but it kept like getting caught up on that.
yeah,
And it was huge for us because I have to come down, I have to start the thing. And all I did was put a little cap, just a little thing on that. And now it's not a problem anymore. And like that could be as simple as you start, you know?
yeah. Pick something that uh you'll put something inside of it, right? You'll
Yeah.
learn a bunch of
Yeah.
tolerance stuff. You'll learn how the printer, like you'll learn just a bunch of stuff just from that. Like
Hmm.
anything that will fit or integrate into something else,
Yeah.
right? You'll learn a lot of modeling and design and the manufacturing bits of it. But yeah, I think it's really good skill just to take on and just start. There's tons of videos out there
Hmm.
for all the different 3D modeling softwares. It's also good just to get hands on, just play with it, try the
Totally.
different tools. It will tell you when you're doing something wrong, usually. It might not tell you how to fix it, but you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
you can then go to YouTube and figure it out. Or even this is another spot where you use AI, right? Go to AI and
Mhm.
ask how to do something. It's usually going to
100%.
be good at stepping you through how to use software. I don't know how to use Blender. I was using it AI the other day. Say, hey, how do where's this setting? How do I change this? How
Yeah.
do I do that? So it can use AI as a tool to learn your skill more.
Yeah. Oh man, you hit on something that I just had like a throwback memory to being in college when I was first learning design and just getting past the fear of like just trying something new. And there's that anxiety when you first start of like I don't know enough or I need to know everything before I can do something. And I think both of us can attest. I think that's why we got into 3D printing, that this was not something that we had some like grand plan or idea around. It was just like we saw something, like I started somewhere,
Yeah.
right? And a very hyper focused, like, I need to do this to do this. And then you learn stuff in that process, and then you find something else to make to do that. And it's like, it just builds on that. And that's in the world of AI, in the world of YouTube, in the world of like this being an open source thing with 3D printing. There's so many people out there that are doing it. So you don't, like, you might even get lucky and you go, how do you do this? How do I, um, design a hanger for my closet? Like there might be a bunch of people that already did that.
Yeah, a
Or
lot of a lot of simple objects, you'll find people with tutorials on YouTube on how to do it.
yeah. Yeah, so it's really up to you, and you just have to get started with one thing, and the rest will the path will keep showing up in front of you and you'll keep learning new things.
You'll catch the bug. I want to keep
Yeah.
designing stuff.
Yeah. And then you're in. Awesome, man. Do you have any closing thoughts on this?
Right. I'll do a quick question.
Yeah.
What program would do you want to learn? Like what program or type
Mm.
of 3D modeling do you feel like you're inadequate at or have a use to learn
Ooh.
for?
So I guess I could give two answers with specific examples. So the blender thing, because I know there's a very niche case with the cosplay thing and just like modeling something organic. So I I have a 3D scanner and
Yeah.
I worked in 3D scanning. So like I can scan some things, but again,
Yes.
it's not like a because I have a scanner, I can scan anything kind of scenario.
And once you're
Um,
scanning, it's not always done. You have to a lot of
exactly.
post-processing.
Exactly. So like that in Blender, that process I was talking about, the different angled views, it's like photogrammetry, but you're making the model.
Yes.
Um, and that would be super helpful because there's so many projects that have just failed because I wasn't able to do that. So I would love to do that. That's one area. And the other one, that programmatic one that you were talking about, like Grasshopper,
Yeah, the
not
nodes
Rhino, but
based. Yeah.
yeah, whatever that one
It's almost
was.
more what's that? I forgot
It's
what
like you
it's
have
called.
these software tools that you're
Computational
like,
generated.
yeah,
Some of
exactly,
it. Yeah.
exactly. I wish I had the patience for that. Um,
Yeah.
but for whatever reason, like I don't know, and this is probably a me problem, but the idea that I would need to spend all this time learning all the nodes and all the geometry and the math behind each
Even just
one.
how to interface and use the user interface of the software itself, it's
Yeah,
a lot.
it's a lot. There's a lot of knobs to press, and that's kind of how Blender is too, where you're like,
Yeah.
I don't know what most of the stuff
A
is.
lot of places to like by mistakenly click on something and mess
Yeah.
up and then not know how to get it back to normal.
Yeah. But that being said, if there's a project that comes along that pushes me to want to do it,
Yeah.
I will figure it out. So,
Yeah,
so I'm
yeah.
almost waiting for that inspiration or addiction to come in where I'm like, I need to do this. And then the motivation's right, and then I'll just dive in. So, yeah,
My
that's
answer
for
would
me.
be the same thing because it's like I think it's always started from like, I can make these functional pieces, but then it's like, oh wait, I have an idea for like a more organic shape.
Mm,
And then I'm just sitting there thinking about how where would I start to design this in CAD? And it's like it wouldn't be easy,
mm,
right? And
yeah.
then in the past I've turned to just like I've tried some of the sculpting stuff and it's like the 2D shaping and modifying on the screen just doesn't translate in my brain.
Hmm.
So then I've resorted to like using 3D modeling software that's sculpt more like artsy sculptor based in virtual
Mm,
reality.
mm,
Since you're actually in the same space, sculpting around,
yeah.
that clicks in my brain because it feels more like real life and I can do it.
Right.
But that's still very limited on what you can do.
Mm,
So then it's like, yeah, if I could learn Blender, if I could learn some of these other ones and all the computational node stuff is
mm.
super, super cool. The designs they come up with that is just so
Yeah.
intricate. It's yeah.
And that specific one, the nodes one, this is where 3D printing has a big limitation right now, is like the infill of a part and like
Yeah.
just everything that's inside. That's driven by like templates, and the templates are not really that changeable. You can change the scale of it and how much of it there is, but you don't really. It's kind of just you get what you get, and then you can like add more walls if you want it to be stronger or whatever. But
Yeah, you can
there's
control more of the tool paths
yeah, and so you can do some really amazing
in the
stuff
process.
to make the part stronger from the inside with that stuff.
Yeah.
That is just not possible right now. And even with almost any of the ones that we've talked about, despite the Node one, like neither of those can really solve that problem. Not as well as the Node option does. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's especially with my work with metals and stuff like that, when you're trying to get the internal strength and the fatigue resistance for a metal part, if you can adjust the infill on those parts to whatever forces those parts are dealing with, then metal 3D printing or just like high material strength 3D printing can really, really be competitive in a lot of different areas, but it's not easy. And
Yeah.
so,
I think yeah, it's like I think if we had like an SLS or metal powder machine or any type of powder machine at home,
yeah.
it's like those can actually print a lot of those crazy intricate designs. So it's almost
Mm.
like and it's like, oh yeah, I should somehow learn how to do this.
Right, and you just made me think of something else. Like even that's another powerful thing about design, right? So you've printed this part and then you've done all the post-processing, you've gotten the part, especially on these like more industrial printers, that post-processing of the part is almost its own problem to solve.
It's an
And
own
with
art.
It is, and like especially with the powder stuff, getting powder out of the inside of a part is really, really challenging. And so like you could even use that type of thing to
Hmm.
make the flow inside the part easier to speed up. So you're cutting the cost of the labor and your workers are going to be happier. You're going to get more done.
Oh yeah.
So like design can really attack it from so many different angles. And I think because I guess I'll call us purists or whatever you want to call us, experts, whatever. We've just focused on this for so long that I don't think people even realize the potential of it fully, or have the patience for it, which is another thing. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I think like we know, from the design to how the user's going to use it to how it's manufactured to how it's going to be
Mhm.
post-processed, like all these little things you gotta think about when you're designing to make it easy
Yeah,
and correct for every part of it, right? So
Mm.
like you just said with the channels to blow out the thing, like no one would know that unless
No.
they've gone and done it themselves, right? They're
Yeah,
like, this is annoying.
hmm
I don't want to do this. How can I make it simpler? So it's like
Yeah,
being able to have your hands in all the processes to know how and what features to put into the design is
right.
very, very key. That's the other thing I don't think AI is ever gonna come near
Yeah,
future is, understanding how the user is going to interact with that, how the
Mm.
manufacturer is going to interact with it, all these little subtle
yeah.
details that you want to include into the design.
Yeah. And I think especially if like you're a company or you've got like 3D printing stuff, as a plug for both Matt and myself, like you can use us to inject us into that process, right? I think and there's another area where AI is going to struggle is like the context of a scenario. Like as the designers, like we don't necessarily it's great for us to have the experience of it, but also being a good listener, like walking the floor, going into a company and saying, "All right, what are you guys doing? Like, tell me about what you're doing." We're just so good at this at this point where we can tell you stuff you might not even realize, or
Yeah.
I'm watching it, you've done it so many times, and I'm seeing something you're doing that I'm like, like that is that part of the process? Is that frustrating? Like really having an expert like either Matt or myself there can can just do wonders to what can be done to change your business, to make things better, to make things easier, cost less, less frustration. I mean, it really is better parts. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is endless, and it just takes being there and having a conversation where both sides are talking and sharing, and then you can do a lot.
You'd be surprised. A lot of people will be like, wait, you can do that?
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, it's relatively simple.
it
So
is.
it's like them be able to come at the table with a different mindset
Mm,
and just a understanding and problem solving. It's people will be surprised how what they can incorporate
yeah,
to make things better.
beautiful. Let's close out there. Tell the folks where they can find you, Matt.
You can find me, well, my website for my company is niche3d.io. Email address is matthew.guy@niche3d.io. And you can find me on LinkedIn at Matthew Guy.
And you can find me at Alex G. Orphanos on LinkedIn. We've got the Part Detective. Everything is over at ag3d-printing.com. You can email us at ag3dpartdetective@gmail.com anytime. If you're looking for help with a project, we help with design work, we help with part success. And Matt and I do a lot of the same stuff. So whatever flavor you're looking for, you've got it here between Matt and I. So
Yeah.
make sure to reach out and you can see stuff I'm working on right now at AG3D Printing on Instagram and TikTok. So that's it.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Stay curious, keep printing,
Yes, keep
and
printing.
yeah, keep printing. And we'll see you next time for Layered Insights.